Good morning. Where's the? Is that right?
Good morning, everyone. If you have a door prize ticket, it's time to turn that in. We've got a bucket up on stage. Hold up that door prize bucket here. Bring your door prize ticket up to the front, and we'll start drawing numbers in just a minute. Okay, Farmers Union, it's time to win some door prizes. We have 10 for you this morning. You'll notice that at all future sessions here, we'll have door prizes and we'll be drawing off tickets so we can reward those who are on time. So our first ticket, this will be for an umbrella. Actually, you can pick whatever you want. We've got a selection of umbrellas, signs, and big mugs for you to choose from. So our first ticket is number 5580570. Last four numbers, 0570. If you're the winner, raise your hand and come on up here. We've got our first winner. Take another ticket. The last four digits are 0610. 0610. Zero 0610. Oh, he's right there. Okay. Here's our next winner. 0707. Lucky number 0707. There is 0707 in the house. Okay. We'll try another one. Oh, we got a winner there. Oh, Dalton. Congratulations, Dalton. Always a winner. Next up, 0640. 0640. Number 0640. Back there. Come on up and get a prize. Jan Coaches. Get an umbrella that's helpful for the rain tonight, or if you're in a second line at some point. The next winner, 0618. 0618. Zero 0618. Oh, we got a winner there. There you go, Oren. We've got a couple signs left and some umbrellas yet. The next is 0495. 0495. Zero 0495. Did Linda Larson just win the door prize? Oh, no, she's not. No, not Linda. Okay, we'll go to another number. 0747. 0747. Do we have a winner? We got a winner back there. Next number, 0702. 0702. There we go. We got a winner here. I think we have 2 or 3 more prizes to go here. Let's go with 0668. 0668. Back there. in the yellow. And one more winner this morning, number 0527. 0527. There we go. Mike Lentz, everybody. All right. We'll get started in just a moment. Thanks for being on time, and let's have some fun.
Good morning. Good morning and welcome. The 124th anniversary convention of National Farmers Union is hereby called to order. My name is Rob LaRue, and I am so very proud to serve as president of this organization. Really appreciate you making the trip to New Orleans on behalf of our National Vice President, Jeff Kipley, myself, and the board. We truly look forward to the time that we're going to be able to spend together over the next few days. We're going to begin our convention with the national anthem. I'm pleased to welcome to the stage Mark Gibbons of Utah Farmers Union to lead us in the national anthem. Please, Mark.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly free, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, came through the night, that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Mark. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. With liberty and justice for all. For 124 years, farmers, ranchers, and rural advocates have gathered under this Farmers Union banner to demand fairness in the marketplace, fight for opportunity, and make sure rural voices are heard in the halls of power. And that's not just our history, it is our purpose. This convention carries that legacy forward. It is a time to honor those who built this organization through grit and grassroots advocacy, and to prepare ourselves for the work ahead. Today, we strengthen our democracy and push for an economy that works for the people who feed, fuel, and clothe this nation. These are not easy times for family farmers and ranchers. Challenges are real and the stakes are high. My hope is that the connections you make here, the ideas that you sharpen, and the energy that you carry home will equip you for the work ahead, so that when we leave this room, we leave ready to lead. Over the next few days, we'll hear from a powerful lineup of speakers who will share their insights on Farmers Union's work to strengthen our farm economy, expand opportunities for rural America, and build a better system for the next generation of family farmers and ranchers. This afternoon, you'll have a chance to jump into breakout sessions and learn about new topics that are interesting to you, such as emergency response training, Farmers Union history, and how federal science and research are helping farmers and ranchers. And tonight, we'll take time to recognize leaders who have dedicated years of service to furthering this organization and its mission. Tomorrow, we'll celebrate outstanding members and chapters during our membership awards before diving into a series of insightful speakers. We're excited to have Jason DeShaw with us and share his story about mental health and resilience. Of course, no Farmers Union convention would be complete without democracy in action. Our delegates will take up the critical work of debating and adopting our grassroots policy, ensuring that our collective voice remains strong and unified. We'll also have plenty of opportunities to connect, learn, and enjoy each other's company through receptions, events, maybe a beverage over the next few evenings. To help you navigate the convention and maybe a little bit of light, we encourage you to download our NFU convention app, where you'll find the full agenda, speaker details, session descriptions, sponsor information, and more. Instructions for downloading the app are displayed on the screens and printed on the back of the pocket agenda. And if you need assistance, our staff is happy to help out. It's not just me, right? Before we move forward, let's take a moment to honor those Farmers Union members that we've lost since we gathered last. So please join me in a moment of silence as we remember our devoted friends. Thank you. I'd also like to take a moment, as we often do, but maybe not enough, to take a moment to recognize and thank our veterans, those in the room and across the organization who have served our country, those continuing to serve our country now, defending the freedoms that we hold. Your dedication and sacrifice do not go unnoticed. And I'd also like to take a moment to remind folks, a lot of this convention is going to be centered around the next generation. But the reference I'm going to make now is maybe current generation. Folks like me may have grown up with Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. And if folks recall, one of the lessons that he taught was about in his childhood when times were really scary and there were so many challenges and you just didn't know what to do. His mother reminded him in those moments to look for the helpers, to look for those stepping up in those moments of uncertainty and troubling times, and are going in to help out. In our communities every day, first responders, doctors, nurses, and others do this every moment when the need arises. And that's so baked into a lot of the commitment that Farmers Union brings to all of our spaces. Could we have any first responders, those helpers in our communities in the room? Please rise. Nice. I'm looking forward to the days ahead as we discuss important topics, connect with each other, lay the groundwork for a successful 2026. Before we kick off official convention business, Let's take a look at the screen and hear a warm welcome from the Louisiana Agriculture Commissioner, Mike Strain.
Bienvenue. This is Dr. Mike Strain, Louisiana Commissioner of Agriculture and Forestry. I want to welcome you to the National Farmers Union in New Orleans for your annual meeting. You are in a great city there at Riverside Hilton, and of course, you are in a great place to enjoy some of the finest and freshest agricultural products in the whole wide world. Just located in the hotel where you're at is one of the most famous seafood restaurants in all of Louisiana. Some things you can truly enjoy. Right now, crawfish are in season. You can also get char-broiled oysters. The first recipe for that was by Mr. Drago Santana, there at Drago's restaurant. But you can also get some fresh alligator soft tacos, crabs, shrimp, and of course catfish, gumbo with Louisiana rice. So many wonderful things right there at your fingertips. So enjoy our wonderful culture. Louisiana is an agricultural state. 85% of the entire surface mass of Louisiana is in agriculture, forestry, and aquaculture. Our major crops are, of course, timber, corn, beans, think of sugarcane, and of course, crawfish and other types of aquaculture. And of course, we also grow a great deal of cotton. So again, you're in a wonderful place. And think about this. Almost 65% of all the grain that is exported from the United States flows right down the Mississippi River, which is right outside the window. And you can see the ships and the commerce. So all of us, everything is related and linked together. I want to welcome you to Louisiana and to New Orleans. Now, if you leave here and you hadn't gained at least 2 pounds, haven't done yourself justice. So enjoy. C'est bon. Laissez-les, les bon temps rouler. Let the good times roll.
I'm really going to have to pace myself. I think already in the days I've already been here, I've already met that goal. I'm not going to move into some of the convention's official business. First, I'd like to recognize someone who will help me to keep order in the convention hall. Chris Walheim will serve as our convention parliamentarian. Chris is a high school agriculture instructor in Sun Prairie, Wisconsin, graduate of UW River Falls. He was a participant in Farmers Union youth education programs and is an active Farmers Union member. Chris has served as parliamentarian at Wisconsin Farmers Union conventions for over a decade. We're glad to have you back, Chris. Thank you. Dave Velde is National Farmers Union's chief counsel. In addition to all of his varied work with Farmers Union, he's also been involved in, been a leader in the state of Minnesota, as well as the World Farmers Organization. He previously has served as Deputy Agriculture Commissioner in Minnesota. Everybody knows Dave. I'll now turn it over to Dave to discuss some more of the business items for this week. Dave.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's good to be with you. Our next item on the agenda is to receive reports from the Bylaw and Rules and Credentials Committee. And so I'd ask those members of the committee to step forward to be recognized. They include Hannah Bernard of Minnesota, Ben Randbold of Rocky Mountain Farmers Union, Jane Sickler from North Dakota Farmers Union, Amber Polsak from South Dakota Farmers Union, Bill Ambers from Nebraska, Jeb, nobody could possibly say this, Jeff Kubek from Wisconsin, and Donna Pearson McLeish from Kansas. This is your committee, and give them a round of applause for their work. We are first going to establish that a quorum is present so that business can be conducted. Thank you, committee members, for coming forward. And then we'll proceed to the consideration of the convention rules. So the chair of the committee is Ben Ringgold, and I would call upon him at this time.
The Credentials, Elections, and Rules Committee has met and reviewed the certifications and has determined that in accordance with Article 9, Section F of the Charter and Bylaws of the Farmers Educational and Cooperative Union of America, that a quorum exists for the conduct of business for this convention. Also, as a reminder, for Article 9, Section C, delegates must be registered by noon tomorrow, Sunday, March 8, 2026.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You heard the report of the committee, which is a quorum is present. You'll get a final credentials report later after the registration process closes at noon tomorrow. May I have a motion to accept the preliminary report? Thank you. A second. Thank you. Discussion. All in favor of adopting the report of the committee that a preliminary count indicates a quorum to be present, indicate by saying aye. Those who are opposed say nay. Motion carried. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, let's get some rules.
All delegates should have picked up a copy of the rules. Of course, we always follow Robert's Rules of Orders in addition to these rules. The Credentials, Elections, and Rules Committee has met and reviewed and recommends approval of the proposed rules.
The rules that were distributed before you are the same as we have used in the past. There has been no change to make note of. May I have a motion to adopt the special convention rules? Is there a second? Thank you. No, is there discussion? Is there discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of adopting the special rules for this convention indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those who are opposed say nay. The motion is carried. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. President, back to you.
Now I'd like to welcome our National Secretary, Darren Von Ruden, for the Secretary's report and approval of the 2025 convention. Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, the first item is to approve the minutes from our 2025 convention. You should receive those in your packet. Is the wishes of the delegation for the secretary to read those minutes, or do we want to just have a motion to approve them? Which one, Doug? I would prefer that we just, because I do not have them in front of me right now for some reason. We might need to just have you guys approve them as distributed. But Michael is working on giving me a copy if you want me to read it. Thank you. There's a motion to approve the minutes as presented from the last convention. Do I have a second? Any discussion, corrections, or changes? Seeing none, all of those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Then just a little bit more of the report, the national or the dues receipt report. At the end of last year, 2024, we had 217,849 members. At the end of the year, 12/31/2025, we had 218,879 members, so up 1,030 members from year to year. So congratulations to all those states that seen improvements in that. Then the other item is every year we do have a few states that have don't have the 1,250 members, so we go through a process to keep them chartered. This year was eight states in total. 4 of those states achieved a 5% membership growth to continue to be chartered. Those states are Missouri, California, Texas, and Hawaii. And the other 4 states completed their charter activity book and the activities that they needed to do. Those states are New England, Michigan, Arkansas, and Iowa. With that, have no stories about babies or anything else this year, but 2 weeks ago, we signed our farm completely over to our son, who's 32 years old now. So I don't have milking responsibilities unless he decides not to pay mom and dad. Then I might have to start milking again. With that, Mr. President, that's the Secretary's report.
Oh, no, I don't think any farmer, particularly a dairy farmer, truly retires. He's probably going to be back in the milk parlor at some time. At this point, I'd like to introduce our national treasurer, Doug Somke. Doug is president of South Dakota Farmers Union, fourth generation and cattle producer from Condi, South Dakota.
Thank you, Mr. President. Darren, congratulations. It's a good feeling, isn't it? Well, first of all, welcome, everyone. I'm glad to see you here. I'm really looking forward to this family reunion, right? I mean, that's what we're all talking about. It's a great being serving as your treasurer, and I will tell you that the staff, the board, and Rob and Jeff have done a wonderful job financially managing. This last year was quite a challenge. We had an extra fly-in, and we thought we were going to be well over budget, and they found a way to not make that happen. And on top of that, grew their finances. So I just want to also thank you all for making the time to come. We are facing some very, very challenging times, and I hope that we can come together and have one message out of here, that we didn't get here overnight. We're not going to get out of this overnight. And this is not a political problem that we face today. And I can tell you right now, I've had too many calls at my place for fixes to the problem by too many young people. And I'm sure that's why we see such a big crowd here today. With that, Mr. Chairman, I would like to turn over this to Ray Lacan and have a presentation of our finances.
Thank you, Treasurer Somke. It is so nice to be with you all this morning. And today we're going to be reviewing NFU's preliminary year-end financial data. I assume everybody can see the screen fine.
Yeah, you're good, Renee.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so this presentation uses 2025 numbers that management has, and they are pre-audit. We expect 2025 audited financials to be presented to the National Farmers Board of Directors at their summer meeting later. Management also included the 2024 audited financial report, and you can find the printed copies of those at the registration desk. This slide shows National Farmers Union and its relationship to related entities, which NFU are the entities. They are National Farmers Foundation, National Farmers Union Service Association, National Farmers Union Political Action Committee. The financials are consolidated and they represent the activity of all of the entities. You can see here that National Farmers Union and the related entities had around 34.5 million at the end of the year. You can see that by National Farmers Union. Second, National Farmers Service Association owned about 20%. And then the foundation, you can see, had much shares. Here we can see that the total assets across the organizations were around 39 million at the end of 2025. The majority are held in the investment accounts, and the organization's financial market portfolio is managed by National Farmers Union Financial Advisor at UBS. The National Farmers Union Board oversees and monitors the portfolio's performance and sets the investment policy. The organization has also invested in various for-profit ventures that the service organization oversees the performance of. And you can see the property and equipment portion that represents the National Farmers Union Washington, D.C. office. For net assets, this shows the history since 2008. As many of you know, the equity market performed well by the end of 2025, which affected the value of Farmers Union's investment assets. We expect to see fluctuations year to year, but the organization goal is to achieve long-term growth by responsibly the use of organizational investments to fund annual operating activity. This slide shows the revenue streams that supported the organization in 2025. The total revenues were about $4.3 million. The use of name fees and commissions category identifies Farmers Union and National Farmers Union Service Organization receives in conjunction with the organization's relationship with insurance companies. The membership dues that the state organizations share with the national organization. The contributions and grants are received from private and government sources. This slide shows where National Farmers Union's expenses are recorded by department. Total expenses were about, you can see rough allocations by organizational activity type on this slide. This slide shows how NFU, or National Farmers Union, has funded the organization's annual expenses. The majority of expenses are covered by operational revenue. However, NFU also plans to operate at a deficit each year, and the board approves a responsible use of investments to cover the difference between annual operating revenue and operating expenses. By keeping the light green bar at the bottom, at a sustainable level, the organization will continue to grow even after some of the funds are used for year-to-year expenses. That's the last slide, and so I'd like to thank you for your time and review of the presentation. If there are questions, please direct them to the National Farmers Union staff. We'll be happy to take them, or you can make them available or provide written responses. I hope you have a great conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee. Thank you, Doug. I hope everyone understands that certainly here at National, the responsibility of managing your resources, your assets, very seriously. Would entertain a motion to approve the financial report. Okay, any discussion? All those in favor of approving the financial report, say aye. Opposed? Report is approved. Now I'd like to welcome to the stage your National Farmers Union Vice President, Jeff Kipley, to introduce our first convention speaker. We can give Jeff a applause.
Thank you, Rob. As many of you know, my name is Jeff Kipley. I farm Northeast South Dakota. We also have a tax operation there where we do federal income tax returns, specializing mostly in farm returns. It's been my honor to serve you for the last 4 years. So thank you for that honor. It is no secret that we are operating in one of the most challenging financial environments in recent memories. Markets are volatile, input costs remain high, trade relationships are uncertain, and for many family farmers and ranchers, Margin for error feels smaller than ever. As a tax specialist, I see firsthand the tough decisions producers are facing. Decisions about cash flow, capital purchases, restructuring debt, and how to position their operations for the year. There is no single solution that fits every farm, but there are practical steps that can make a real difference. That's why I am especially pleased to introduce our next speaker. Jessica Groskoff is an extension educator with the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. She works directly with producers across the region and brings a clear-eyed understanding of what's happening on the ground. Today, she'll share the trends that she's seeing and the practical, actionable guidance she's offering to help farmers navigate today's farm economy. Please join me in welcoming Jessica Groskoff.
We lost the clicker somewhere. Oh, I see it. I found it. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. And I'm so excited to be here. I'm really proud that you got the Groskoff correct. My name is Jessica Groskoff. I proudly hail from Scottsbluff, Nebraska. So don't let the University of Nebraska-Lincoln fool you. I live 400 miles from there. I live closer to Wyoming than I do to the capital city of Nebraska. So today we're going to talk about weathering the financial storm, and it's really a great opportunity for us to focus. So as we get started today, what I would like to do is take a moment to pause and set an intention. I think sometimes as farmers and ranchers, we come together at these meetings and we're so excited to be together. And we're so excited to conduct our business that we get ahead of ourselves. So I just want to take a pause, just a second. And I want you to set an intention for your time here with National Farmers Union and also for this talk. And my intention for you is that you can grab at least one piece that you can take home and implement in your farm or your ranch business. Because at the end of the day, this is about farm survival. This is about keeping families on the land. And we have to do that together. So let's hop in. Now, I hear that I'm the first person to make you do this. So if you would grab your phone for me, and you would scan the QR code, or if you're not comfortable with that, go to Slido.com and enter those numbers. And I'm curious, in one word, what is your biggest financial concern on the farm? Remember, it's one word. Okay? One word. Let's see what you all come up with. Some great words on there. And if you notice, the more often a word is used, the larger the word gets. A lot of farmers are in this place where we are concerned about things like profitability, sustainability, debt, and inputs. And this exercise is to show us that you are not alone in these concerns. As I work with farm and ranch families, I hear these things come across my desk every day. We are all in a position where we need to focus down on our farm and our ranch and really look at this. Now, I'm going to let these words keep coming up because I know a few of you are still putting words in. But I'm curious, what of this can you control? Right? What of this can you control? Because as farmers and ranchers, we live in a place of uncertainty. And when we're making decisions in uncertain times, we have to focus. And there are two particular things we need to focus on. Number one, what is our true problem? And number two, what solutions do we have control over to address that problem? When I think about some of the words that you all put up there, some of those are just out of our control. We have to look at our situation individually and say, where am I being challenged and what can I personally control? So as I work with farm and ranch families, there are two documents that we need to look at. There's the balance sheet and the cash flow. And I'm going to spend a little bit of time going through these today because this is really where the rubber meets the road as I work with farmers and ranchers. So here we go. Let's talk about balance sheets. So balance sheets are a snapshot of your business's position at a point in time. I like to think of them as your full picture, right? Now, I grew up in the 90s. What did my mom do with my school pictures? She put them in that picture frame and they went side by side, right? And some years, I got more attractive. Some years, I got more awkward. And sometimes I had to get awkward to get attractive, right? The year I got braces. This is what a balance sheet is. It's a snapshot, and it's taken at the same time every year. I prefer January 1 balance sheet when I'm working with farmers and ranchers. That way I can compare it to other financial documents. But this balance sheet is your business's snapshot. So what is it? How do we take the snapshot of our business? We make a list of everything the business owns and everything the business owes. Now, just like our school pictures, our balance sheet doesn't tell us everything. And the number one thing it doesn't tell us is the profitability of the business. It talks about the liquidity and the solvency of the business, which I'll go into a little bit later. We're also going to take that information and we're going to organize it by whether our assets and liabilities are current, which means we'll use it in less than 1 year or pay it off within a year. Intermediate has a life of 1 to 10 years, or long-term has a life greater than 10 years. So some of the biggest mistakes I see on balance sheets, and this is really a challenge, is that we see unrealistic prices for assets. So they're either listed too high or listed too low. Yesterday in Scottsbluff, Nebraska, I could sell corn in the bin at $4.15, right? If I have it listed for $6 on my balance sheet, what did I just do? I put a filter over my snapshot. When it comes to valuing these assets, and we're going to do it all the way down the balance sheet, we need to have realistic prices. It can't be too high, it can't be too low. You don't want the Polaroid and you don't want the glamour shot, right? We need a realistic photograph of your business at that point in time. The other thing I see, especially with younger producers, are things like missing investments in growing crops, accounts receivable, expenses, which all go up in that current asset box there at the top of the sheet. The other thing I see, especially on the liability side, is not moving payments that are due this year from our intermediate long-term debt. So if we've got a machinery payment or we've got a land payment, remember that the payment we're going to make this year has to move to the top of that balance sheet. And then we're missing debt, especially credit cards and lines of credit from suppliers. Right now, farmers have lots of options of who can finance them, and sometimes it's not the traditional bank. So we're leaving that off the balance sheet when we go to our banker. And again, that creates a moment where that picture really isn't accurate. The other thing I see is mixing personal assets into our business assets. And while I know a lot of our lenders ask us to add personal assets and personal liabilities to the balance sheet, it needs to be in the correct portion of the balance sheet so that when we're calculating financial ratios for the farm or the ranch, we're separating that out and we're only using the farm information to calculate those ratios. Let's talk about these ratios, and I'm only going to show you 3. There are technically, I believe, 21 separate farm financial standards ratios that we can look at, or calculations that we can make to assess the financial viability of a farm or ranch business. But again, it's early, you all need some coffee, so we're just going to be through 3. So we're going to start off looking at the top of the balance sheet and looking at working capital. And again, this is a liquidity measure. Liquidity says, can we meet the short-term obligations of our business? So in other words, am I going to make enough money this year to pay off the debt that I have to pay this year? So what we do is we subtract current liabilities from current assets. If this number is negative, we're in a vulnerable financial position. And if it's positive, we're okay. But just a number doesn't really tell us a whole lot, right? Let's say my number was 10,000. Well, I could have $10,000 worth of current assets and $0 worth of liability and have $10,000 worth of working capital. However, I could also have $100,000 of current assets, $90,000 of liabilities, and still have that same $10,000. So what we really want to look at is the relationship between these two numbers, and we call this the current ratio. And again, we're still focused on the very top portion of that balance sheet. So this is still looking at liquidity, but this time we are going to divide assets by liabilities. So current assets divided by current liabilities. The way I like to talk to farmers about this is, let's say we do this calculation for your operation and it comes out as 1.5. Well, what does that mean? It means you have $1.50 in assets to cover every dollar of liabilities. And because assets is on the top and liabilities is on the bottom, we want this number to be bigger. So the Farm Financial Standards Council sets the parameters around these ratios. And they say that if this value is less than 1.3, you're in a vulnerable financial position. If it's between 1.3 and 2.0, you're in an okay financial position. And if it's greater than 2, you're in a strong financial position. Right now, in terms of trends of what I'm seeing, we are seeing farmers, especially on the lower end of that middle bracket, and going into the red end of that vulnerable. Right, we're coming into a period of low prices, high inputs, especially on the grain side. Now let's focus our attention on the bottom portion of the balance sheet, right? This is where we look at the total liabilities and total assets. So if I'm focused there on the bottom of the balance sheet, you gotta watch this one. It might get a little tricky on you. This time we're gonna put liabilities on top and assets on the bottom. So I want a smaller number. We express this as a percentage. And what the debt to asset ratio tells us is what portion of your total farm assets is financed with borrowed money. So if this number is greater than 60%, you are in a vulnerable financial position. If it's between 30 and 60%, you're okay. And if it's less than 30%, you're in a strong financial position. I am seeing a lot of variability in the total debt to asset ratio as I work with farmers and ranchers across Nebraska. And the big difference is where they're at in the life cycle of their farm. So I like to use the example of my husband and my father-in-law. My husband's a first-generation farmer. He happens to be here today. Sorry to pick on you. But we just bought into the family partnership about 4 years ago. My father-in-law is debt-free. So they're farming the same ground. They have similar balance sheets. But think about the amount of debt that us as beginning farmers have versus someone in the sunset years of their life. This is where I'm seeing the biggest differences. But this is also really important. The financial decisions that my spouse and I make are extraordinarily different from the financial decisions that my father-in-law make. We are in two totally different financial positions, even though we are farming the same ground. So as we look at this debt to asset ratio, again, we're looking at the total amount of money that you have borrowed in relation to your asset value. We are seeing this creep up a little bit, but again, I think the biggest piece of variability is in where that farm is in the life cycle of that farmer. So how do we improve our balance sheet? Well, friends, it's as simple and as hard as increasing your assets, decreasing your liabilities. It's helpful, right? No? Oh, come on. All right. So here's some ideas and what I'm working with farmers and ranchers on. So we're looking for opportunities to sell assets for more than their value for the balance sheet. So when we go into renew a loan, particularly on the grain side, that banker is going to assign a value to the grain we have in the bin. And anytime I can sell grain for more than that, it's a darn good thing, right? Because I beat my banker's expectations. We're working with farmers to pay off debt, particularly using the significant amount of government assistance we've been receiving recently to pay off current debt or high interest rate debt. The third bullet point there, if my husband's a big iron, crappies, whoever you guys follow, he loves to watch the auctions, and the machinery auctions have been really high. I think the trend for machinery sales that we're seeing is farmers selling off unprofitable or unnecessary assets. We can also use assets more efficiently. This can also be human capital as well as farm capital, but we can do things like custom farming. We can find alternative sources of income, either on farm or off farm. And finally, we can refinance, and I'll talk about that more a little bit later. So let's hop into cash flow budgets. This is the second document that I'm working with farmers and ranchers on. It's not nearly as fun or sexy, but hey, we'll talk about it anyway. Cash flow budgets are spending. And I prefer that you do this spending plan on a monthly basis. What we're going to do is we're going to estimate your income and your expenses for your farm or your ranch. And we're going to identify when and how large of an operating unit you need. Yet again, this document does not show profitability. However, cash is the lifeblood of your business. So we need to know how cash moves through your business and how we intend for it to move through your business by using these cash flow budgets. Some of the biggest mistakes I see farmers have is not having a monthly budget, developing it and never looking at it again, not including overhead expenses, utilities, insurance, and labor in this estimate, having unrealistic income or expenses. The other thing I find is that some folks are misusing their lines of credit. An operating note is for input, right? Not for machinery payments, not for land payments. So we need to make sure that we're not utilizing our operating note or a line of credit for that purpose. So again, how do we improve our cash flow? Well, heck, we just increase our income and we decrease our expenses. So simple. Here's some ideas. I want to shout out to Dr. Kleinfelter from Texas A&M University. He's famous for what he calls the 5% rule. And I should have added expenses and income. So Dr. Kleinfelter did a study and he looked at the top performing farms in the farm credit system. And what he found is that the top performing farms don't outperform by hitting home runs. They outperform by hitting base hits. And what do I mean by that? He says by decreasing your expenses by 5% and increasing your income by 5%, it will have astounding effects on your profitability. Now, that study has been replicated by almost every university in the country. So think of it in terms of base hits. Where in your operation can you decrease expenses by 5%, and what are those opportunities to increase by 5%? I'm seeing farmers, it's a little late to start this now, at least in my neighborhood. They're moving to crop share or bushel rent instead of cash rent. We're reducing payments by refinancing. We're doing enterprise analysis. We're trying to spread out payments or match payments to better align with our income. And we're deferring capital asset purchases. So what tools are in your toolbox as we look to improve our farm finances? The major tools that we're using right now are refinancing. Refinancing is not loan forgiveness. What we're doing is we're rewriting those loans and we're extending the repayment period of those loans. Now, if we were in a different interest rate environment, we would also be looking for a lower interest rate, but that's simply not possible right now. The other tool, and I'm sure you've seen the headlines, is farm bankruptcy. And again, this is not forgiveness. This is repayment plan over 3 to 5 years. I want to point out that there are specific criteria in order to qualify for farm bankruptcy. And if you'd like to chat about that more, I'll be around here today, and I'd be happy to chat with you about that. Now, since this is a national convention, I'm going to refer you back to your local resources. So right now, we're working heavily with USDA through their farm loans and other programs to help farmers and ranchers. State departments of agriculture also have programs that are available. In Nebraska, we have a beginning farmer tax credit, and I'm sure your states have other opportunities similar to that. Of course, I have to plug Extension. As an Extension professional, I'm an unbiased resource for you. If you need to bring in your documents and have us review them, look for your economists. We are fun people. And finally, I'd like to recommend your local hotlines and organizations. In Nebraska, we're blessed with the rural response and many of the states have those opportunities as well. So with that, I want to thank you for having me here today. And I am so glad that we had this opportunity to talk about weathering the financial storm. Like I said, I hope that you took away one nugget from my presentation, and I hope you have a wonderful convention. Thank you so much. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Jessica, for that insight today. A couple of quick announcements here. Number one, we do have overflow seating next door in the St. James room. If you need a seat, there's also a couple tables in front here. Guys, this is a church, you can sit in front. But there is some overflow seating in the St. James room. We are going to take a quick break here. It is currently 10 o'clock. Let's be back starting at 10:35 sharp. So we'll take a 35-minute break here, 10:35 sharp. Thank you.
Break it down. Time goes, it's so it is said. You can't prove this, and you probably aren't. That's a way. Your hands in the air, bust a few moves on your fingers to your hair. This is it. Your window, dance to this, and you gotta get in the mood. Look, man, you can't touch this. You better get high, boy, because you know you can. You can't touch this. Ring the bell, come back in. Keys. Stop. Touch this, no, no. You can't touch this. Yeah? Every time you see me, my hammer's destroyed. I'm going on the floor and magic on the floor. There's good thing because that
Good morning. This is your friendly reminder. Our program will resume in 5 minutes. Please return to your seat so we can start our program on time. Thank you. Good morning. Please return to your seats. We'd like to get our meeting started in roughly 2 minutes. Please find your way to your seats. Thank you.
Welcome back, everybody. Settle down, settle down. Now, if we can't convince you guys to settle down after this break, you give you guys just a little bit of extra time, and you certainly feel it. They're glad to have you back here. At this time, I'd like to take a few minutes to talk about an announcement that we've been really excited to make at this convention. But first, I have a question for everybody. How many of you in this room got into farming or ranching because someone new opened the door? A parent, a neighbor, a mentor who took the time to show you something, share something, or just believe in you? Show of hands. All right, I thought so. Now, how many of you are doing that for somebody else right now? We talk a lot in this organization about the future of family farming, and the challenges are real, as we know. Land prices that put ownership out of reach for a new generation, credit that's harder to access, input costs that won't quit, a policy environment that hasn't kept up. But here's what I know: the future of family farming is not just a policy problem, it's a people problem. And Farmers Union has always been in the business of people. Who farms next? Who leads next? Who sits at the tables where decisions are made? In state houses, in the co-op boardroom, in Washington, in this organization, 10 and 20 years from now? The answer to those questions is being shaped at this time, and we intend to have a hand in shaping it. That is why today I am proud to announce Farmers Union Next Generation. This is a dedicated program for members ages 21 to 45, built to ensure that young, beginning, and early career farmers and ranchers can belong here, build economically, and lead. Now, I want to be clear about something. We're not starting from scratch here. For years, we've had programs, and in more recent years, we've had the Next Generation Advisory representatives serving on our national board. 3 members at a given time, each on a 3-year term, making sure that younger voices have a real seat at the table where this organization makes its decisions. That isn't going away. It's the foundation we're building on. If you are a current Next Gen representative on the board right now, or you have been in the past, could you please stand? With today's actions, what we're doing is we're taking the work that we've already done and we're bringing some focus around it. So what does the Farmers Union Next Generation actually look like? It means belonging. Young farmers need to see this organization as built for them, not just open to them, but built for them and by them. A place to find peers who are navigating the same challenges, asking the hard questions, and knowing they don't have to figure it out alone. It means farm viability. If the next generation can't make a living, nothing else much matters. That means real, practical education, business planning, financial literacy, risk management, production strategies, the kind of knowledge that helps an operation survive the hard years and build towards something lasting. It means leadership. Some of the people in this program will go on to lead Farmers Union. Some already are. That means deliberate investment in advocacy skills, policy engagement, and communications. Preparing people not just to show up, but to lead when they get there. Here's what that will look like in practice. Our annual advocacy training where members will meet with lawmakers and make the case for foreign policy. We also spend a lot of time in advocacy training dedicated to making sure that the particular skills for those conversations is well honed. That will now be devoted to next generation members. Every year at this convention and our fly-in, next generation members will have a gathering point, a place to connect, learn, and build relationships with each other. Just last night, we had the inaugural Next Generation gathering in advance of today's meeting, and I understand we had 100 members there at that event last night. In the future, on the advice of current Next Generation members, we are now developing mentorship opportunities and additional programming to keep members connected between events. Because a community doesn't happen once a year, it does have to be built over time. For states that already have young farmer programs, Farmers Union Next Generation is designed to be complementary to those efforts, a national network and framework that strengthens what you're already doing and connects your members to something bigger. For states that don't yet have that infrastructure, this program creates that foundation. And we are committed at the national office and as a board to keep listening and keep building. This is the beginning, not a finish line. The challenges facing young farmers today are significant, but so is the opportunity in front of this organization. Every person in this room has something to offer, someone who is earlier in this journey. Knowledge, a connection, a phone call, an invitation. So please invest your time, share what you know, and open your doors. That is how, or I should say, continue to open your doors. That is how Farmers Union has always grown, one relationship at a time, and that's how we will grow from here. With that, I want to welcome to the stage Scott Blueball, President of Oklahoma Farmers Union and Chair of our Education Committee, to share a few words.
Well, good morning. As the education chair of the board of directors, I want to tell you we've been working on this project for a while now, and really excited to see it finally come about here today. I'll tell you just a little bit of history, kind of how we got this idea started. 4 years ago in Oklahoma, we did not have a young farmer and rancher program. And we were really good with the younger children in school still, but we kind of lost them once they went off to college and had families and kind of lost the connection there. So we decided we needed to start the Young Farmer and Rancher program. And we had had 3 other programs in the past over several decades that had failed. They were not successful at all. And so my staff took a deep dive into all the files and why did these programs fail. And we created our 10 commandments that we would never, ever, ever do because it had failed before. And we're going to do, we may not know what works, but we know what doesn't work. And so we're not going to repeat those same mistakes. And with the help of Lacey, who you'll be hearing from a little bit later today, we were able to create the Young Farmer and Rancher program here in Oklahoma that has seen great success. We were able to team up with Doug Somke and his staff in South Dakota and Mark Watney and his staff up in North Dakota. And they already had good programs in their states. So we took the best that they had and we took what we knew already in our state and we combined it all together. And we put together something that works. And so Rob and the national board said, would you please take your model that you all have developed and share it with all of our states? And so some states have a lot of resources. Some states have very little resources. But that's the idea and how this came about. And so one of the things in our 10 commandments was We don't want a bunch of old fuddy-duddy men telling our young farmers and ranchers what they need to do and how they need to do it and all that. Because guess what? That was on our failure list. That was on our failure list. So when we did, so here at the National Farmers Union, we put an advisory council together from young farmers and ranchers all across the country. And we put them all together and we said, okay, what will benefit you the most? What do you want to do? How can we help you become a leader at your local level, at your state level, and be engaged at the national level? And so we have built this program. Our young farmers and ranchers have actually set the criteria. They have worked on what they want. So this is made by young farmers for young farmers and ranchers around the country. And we think that that will make it a great success. I just have a couple of examples I'm going to talk about here briefly on success. We have a young man named Dylan Travis from Pawnee, Oklahoma. His father suddenly died at 50 years old, and he was thrust into taking over the family farm and the ranch under some really bad financial circumstances. And we got him in our program. He has done so well in leadership training. He became a county president there for Farmers Union. He became on our policy committee. He became a national delegate and came here. He started going to fly-ins and advocating for himself, his farm, and all the family farms just like his back home. This about 2 weeks ago, Dylan he was elected to the State House of Representatives in Oklahoma in a special election. He defeated 5 Republican opponents. He defeated 5 Republican opponents and 1 Democrat opponent. We swore him in on the House floor just 2 weeks ago, and very, very proud of one of our members doing that. Tim Bates, you're going to hear from later on in the convention as well. Tim's one of our first members 4 years ago when we started this program, and it works. The young farmers get to spend time together. They are as almost become a family, and they help each other. And when they have a question on a farming technique or the latest chemical or fertilizer or whatever, that they have a network of their own that they know, hey, I know that Dylan knows about that issue, or I know Tim's an expert in the cattle business. I'm going to call him and ask him my questions. And by them being able to network has been amazing. So we're training our future leaders to take over Farmers Union. So we're training them at the county level, the local level, and getting them ready for national here. We think this program, we've been able to combine several old programs that National Farmers Union have done traditionally in the past with this all-encompassing program. And we really think this is going to be a big success. And I think this is an opportunity for the small states that don't have a lot of resources behind them. Please take advantage of this and get your young farmers and ranchers in this, because you're going to train the next leaders of your organization. And, we've been around 125 years, and we want to be around a whole lot longer. And we can't do that unless we're training our young people up to take over these leadership roles. So with that, I will turn it back over to Rob. And I just want you to know that the National Board of Directors is very committed to this project. And like Rob said, we're just getting started. This is not the finish line. It's the beginning line. And I think we'll have great success.
The other piece of that, we've talked about, we're going to have this educational programming, we're going to have advocacy training and so forth. Look, because we're also making sure that we're talking to the next generation and developing this, We also know that it is about that networking, right? And that includes, that can look a bunch of different ways. And as I witnessed when I managed to sneak into the Next Generation gathering last night at a um, bar over here, not too far from the hotel, nice balconies out there. There was beach volleyball being played somehow on the balconies. There was conversations going everywhere, rumors of dancing, all kinds of fun being had. And you just took a look in that room, and you know that this is also a big part of it, right? Making sure that we're building the social connections. So hope those in attendance, first of all, I hope you're in the room. I hope you had a fun time last night, but I do hope you're here. And you're going to see throughout this convention that we're trying to weave in next generation members throughout the event here, both in terms of our panels as well as our speakers. And you'll be hearing these voices along so that the fuddy-duddies of us are not the only ones talking about that. And with that, I want to welcome to the stage Lindsay Sickler, who is a sixth-generation family farmer from northeast of Dickinson, North Dakota. Please welcome to the stage.
Thank you, President LaRue. As he said, I'm Lindsay Stickler. I'm from Southwest North Dakota, sixth-generation farmer. I farm there with my wife and my kids and with my parents. I always get asked why I chose to farm. I really don't believe I chose to farm. I believe that farming chose me. When I graduated high school, in my adolescent wisdom, I thought maybe I wasn't going to farm. It didn't take me long after being away at college for one semester to realize that was what I was meant to do. It was truly ingrained in me from a young age, farming alongside my parents and my grandparents. And I'm very grateful that I was able to realize that and what my passion was for farming. I think the message of part of this convention is the challenges that young producers are facing. There's a lot of them, and I think a few of them have already been touched on today. As Jessica stated earlier, the access to capital and capital needed for asset acquisition is probably one of the bigger challenges that we as young producers face. There is a big disparity amongst the generations right now. Assets have gotten to be very expensive. It's a little bit more difficult for the younger producers to make that transition into acquiring those assets. So that's one challenge that I deal with, in my farming career, and I know that a lot of younger producers, especially in our area, are dealing with that. One of the other challenges that I would love to see addressed, and I know everyone kind of feels the same way, is the consolidation in agriculture. That's a big hindrance for us as young producers. When we are able to make a profit, if we can, a lot of the times that profit just goes away to the consolidation, whether it's an input cost or grain or cattle sales or whatever, both ends of the spectrum. So very happy to be part of an organization that is trying to face those concerns of ours. And as a farmer, you have to be perpetually optimistic. I do find optimism. I mean, there's always bright lights out there for us as young producers. One of those bright lights is an organization like this, whether it's networking with other producers that are facing the same challenges that I personally am, being able to bounce ideas off of them, or just the general grassroots effort of the organization to know that the concerns that I have are being heard by people, or strengthening my voice to get those concerns to the right people to help find solutions for the concerns or the issues that we're dealing with. But another part of that is voicing our successes, because we as farmers and ranchers, we have challenges that we face, but somehow we always find a way to overcome them. And I think that organizations like this that give us a voice to have our successes heard is equally important. And I'm very optimistic about an organization like this and what they can bring to help young farmer producers in the future. And with that, I'd like to thank everyone. I'd like to thank the organization and giving the opportunity to speak on this issue, and appreciate everyone's support. And thank you again.
All righty, thank you, Lindsay. Now, we've already talked a little bit about the challenges out there and about farm policy. We're going to do a little bit more of that, but we're going to think bigger. That's what we do in Farmers Union. After at least 3 extensions of the 2018 Farm Bill, the pandemic, trade chaos, I should say, we know what's not working. We know that we've got to think bigger. We've got to find ways to make sure that, in addition to all the other ways to improve our conditions, making sure that as we look at farm policy, that we are doing what is in the best interest truly for family farmers and ranchers out there. So with that, we have a great panel here, the 3 experts that will describe today's situation and offer ideas and concepts for a stronger farm bill, maybe a farm bill that actually works, and farm policy in the years ahead. Please welcome to the stage Janie Hill, Native American Financial Services, Jonathan Koppas, University of Illinois, Dr. Joe Outlaw, Texas A&M University, and Lacey Newman, Oklahoma Farmers Union. Here you go.
Thank you very much, Rob. I'll just start here by introducing myself really quickly. Like Rob said, I'm Lacey Newman. I'm the Lacey that Scott mentioned just a second ago on our Young Producers Group. So I'm from Northwest Oklahoma. My husband and my family run a stalker operation, and we're also oil buyers. So I am on staff, but I'm also farming and ranching as well. And I'm also our press secretary for Oklahoma Farmers Union. So I work at the intersection of communications and government. And then I also run our Young Producers Group, which we call Strive. So our Strive group is for 25 to 40-year-olds. And so I spend a lot of time immersed in one world of what's happening in policy now, and then another world of, what will policy look like for our young people tomorrow. So all of that kind of culminates a little bit into the panel that we're doing today. So I'm really excited about this panel. I'm excited to host it. We're going to be talking about some important things and highlighting maybe what's next. So what comes next? Rethinking farm and food policy. Here at Farmers Union Convention, we are thinking big. We're talking about big ideas. We're talking about what's going wrong and what's going right. I'm sure there's lots of side conversations about that. But one of the reasons that we're here is to think through potential solutions to some of those problems, and then, of course, to celebrate what successes we have. Those of you who are farming and ranching know that our problems that we have right now are greater than they have been in quite some time. There's lots of conversations about echoes of the 1980s, and I think depending on your age in the audience, that may scare you for different reasons. Either you remember it or you're scared that you'll experience it, one of the two. And so I think our discussions now are as important as they have ever been in this room. And so we have a farm bill that has stalled for, are we on 4 years now? 3.5 years? And that's where we get our guidance. That's where we get our assistance. And so we're in this panel, we're going to be looking at maybe a little bit about what's happening now, but also what comes next for us. So massive challenges ahead of us. I'm just going to list a couple of them here. Low commodity prices, high input costs, pressure from trade policy, natural disasters, and of course, monopolies, just about every sector. So as I introduce our guests, as they talk through some of their policy priorities, some of the priority points, I want you to be thinking about questions you may have. I think in talking with the panelists, I think they're going to have a few introductory comments, but more than anything, they want to hear from you. They want to hear what your questions are and get those answered. So here in a little bit, we'll have a chance for you to turn those questions in. So please be thinking about them and writing them down as we're talking here. So with that, I'm going to do a little bit of introductions here. Next to me, I have Janie Sims Hip. Welcome, Janie. Janie serves as the founding CEO of the Native Agricultural Financial Service, a nonprofit other financing institution within the Farm Credit System. NAFS focuses on meeting the capital access needs of Native farmers, ranchers, fishers, and forest land operators, and of course, their rural communities. Prior to leading NAFS, she served as the general counsel of the USDA, and she is the founding CEO of the Native American Agriculture Fund, which is the nation's largest philanthropic organization focusing solely on improving native food and agriculture. And she was also the founder of the Indigenous Food and Agriculture Initiative at the University of Arkansas School of Law, one of my honors. Mrs. Tiff also served 4 years of experience in ag law, having begun her work in the 1980s during the farm financial crisis. She is a recognized expert in ag law and the intersection of ag law and Indian law. She is a citizen of the Chickasaw Nation and was raised on a small rural town in South Oklahoma. Next, we have Jonathan Coppas, an associate professor of ag policy in the Department of Ag and Consumer Economics at the University of Illinois. He is the author of The Fault Lines of Farm Policy, a legislative and political history of the Farm Bill, and a frequent contributor to Farm Doc Daily. Coppas leads the Gardner Agriculture Policy Program. He previously served as chief counsel for the Senate Agriculture Committee, and he also served as the administrator of the Farm Service Agency at USDA and a legislative assistant to Nebraskan Senator Ben Nelson. Prior to his time in D.C., John was a litigation associate at Freeborn and Peters in Chicago, Illinois. He grew up on his family's farm in Western Ohio. And down at the end, we have Dr. Joe Outlaw. Dr. Outlaw is the co-director of the Agricultural and Food Policy Center at Texas A&M University. He frequently interacts with members of Congress and key agricultural committee staff to provide feedback on the likely consequences of agricultural policy changes. Dr. Outlaw's education and applied research activities are focused on assessing the impact of farm programs, risk management tools, renewable energy, and climate change legislation on U.S. agricultural operations. Dr. Outlaw is originally from Devine, Texas, a small farming community southwest of San Antonio. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to
Okay.
Go for it.
All right. So it's really great to be with you all today. I'm just going to jump right in. First of all, though, I have to extend my apologies to Scott because I was supposed to be on a podium in Oklahoma a couple of weeks ago, and I just got through moving back from Arkansas to Oklahoma, back to my roots, and got sick as a dog, and so I couldn't show up. So I hope Scott will speak to me in the hallway because I really do. And I'm so thrilled that National Farmers Union and everyone is getting involved in next generation work. I personally believe that if we do anything else, we have to do that right. Because if we do not do everything we can to place agriculture in the hands of our young people right now, we got a problem. So next gen, put me in, coach, because I'm ready to work on y'all's behalf. And I'm putting my money where my mouth is. The staff that I have has one person who's 50 and everybody else is under the age of 40. I intend to keep it that way. And I tell them all every single day, you all need to be prepared to step in and run this place sooner rather than later. And I need to be prepared to hand it over to you. Because to me, that's where we're missing the boat here. We've got a lot of people my age who are just grasping at keeping control, and it's not our place to do that. The reason why I started off with that is I believe that is the most important pillar issue. Number two, I'm an agricultural lawyer.
I'm still
Yeah. And I tell Joe in the hallway, Joe is a legend, Jonathan is a legend. I get to hang out with these legends and play like I'm an economist. I'm not, never have been, but I've been around the block. And I actually cut my teeth as an agricultural lawyer in the 80s. I came out of law school in Oklahoma in the 80s when oil and gas went down, banking went down, and ag went down. And my first job out of law school was to take farms away from them. And my grandmother's spirit, she wasn't even in the room. Literally, she said, "You're going to go straight to hell if you don't stop doing that." And so I literally got up one morning, walked up to her, said, "This is where you going?" I said, "I don't know. I just can't do this." My granddad was a tractor implement dealer. He had a dirt floor in his tractor dealership. We were not fancy, but Idabel, Oklahoma, we had a dirt floor. I mean, we were not fancy. But I grew up immersed in rural and ag. And I've tried a couple of times in my career to go away from y'all. Can't do it. Ain't gonna happen. Married a guy that subsistence farming is hard, even worse than what we're all experiencing. But in the 80s, Oklahoma had the highest suicide rate of any other state. And I know what I'm looking at right now, and I'm looking at something that's worse than the 80s. And we better damn sure do whatever we can to link arms with people we don't like and do whatever we can to save every bit of land and every farm and every ranch. And I tell people now, I don't care who you are, what you grow, what you look like, where you are. I don't care. I don't care. We're going to save every single one of you. And then we're going to go back to fighting. Okay? We can do that really well. But honestly, y'all, we have gotten to the point, and these two legends might disagree with me, but we have such old laws. Our legal infrastructure that sits up under agriculture is ancient. We still rely in some states on laws that were created at statehood. Hello. We did not have cell phones at statehood. We didn't have anything like we have now. We are so due for redo. And frankly, I think part of the reason why we keep struggling to get a farm bill done is everybody knows we're at a turning point, but we just haven't grasped the moment and are willing to do the work. And I have a tendency to go places and probably embarrass myself occasionally, but the last time, Jonathan, the last time this country actually got serious about establishing agricultural policy was right after World War I, II, the Great Depression, and the Dust Bowl. Because if you actually look at a lot of our laws, they go all the way back to that time period. And then some of our state laws go all the way back to statehood. What are we doing, y'all? It's going to take a lot of courage for us to literally sit at a table and figure this out. But if we're not looking at the next, and I know our current secretary talks 100 years from now. If we're not looking at 150 and 200 years from now, we are missing out. We can no longer look at every 5 years. It just doesn't work. And I will tell you straight up, and Zach Ducheneau is out in the audience, and he and Jonathan, and we've had these spirited conversations. The financial infrastructure. I've had these conversations within the farm credit system. Thank God for them, okay? Thank God for all of the banks that are still willing to lend to agriculture. We have got to grab the bull by the horn and say, this is the financial infrastructure necessary for the next 200 years. We're acting like ag is buying a car. It's not. Y'all all know this, right? You have to face stuff that nobody else in any other sector has to face. So why are we trying to deal with things just with Band-Aids all over the place? It drives me up the wall, as you can probably tell. But I just feel like we are cutting our kids off at the knees. We are watching our land slip away from us. And I'm a tribal member, and I can talk book, chapter, and verse about land slipping away. Okay? I'm telling you, we're going to repeat what happened to Native people in this land if we are not careful. We cannot be that stupid. Native people were not stupid. We were farmers and ranchers, and we have been doing agriculture in place in this country for tens of thousands of years. Put us at the table. I'm going to go there. I have a tendency to do this, as Jonathan knows. But why are we so afraid of diversity? Why are we afraid? Black farmers know stuff. Native farmers know stuff. Hispanic farmers know stuff. Asian farmers know stuff. Women farmers know stuff. All right? And I'm going to tell you straight up, our young people know a lot more about farming than I ever will. Why? Because they know how to retrieve a password. Am I right? No, I'm right. We cannot be so afraid of each other and of being diverse. Every monoculture in the whole of all agriculture is weak by definition. It's the diversity that makes us strong. So why are we so afraid of each other? We cannot be in that space. Agriculture cannot afford it because we know, because we're all farmers and ranchers, that bloodlines matter. Diversity of crops matter. Soil health matters. All of that stuff is just it's such a beautiful thing. But we want it to be sterile and easy to deal with and check a box. No. But it requires us to actually put on different policy thoughts and talk to each other and talk our way through it. I just feel like we're at that moment. We have to rethink the whole thing, top to bottom, side to side. We got to have a diverse group of people at the table because we can't afford in this country to leave anybody behind. And rural communities cannot afford to be left behind any longer, period. Full stop. So that's all I got to say.
Great. Thank you, Janie. Jonathan, you're up.
I don't know how to follow. Janie, that was amazing. I kind of sit all next to this. I'm going to consider myself a bit of a bridge. Janie's a real attorney. I've been recovering for some time from being an attorney. Joe's an actual economist, and I just typically argue with economists. So that's my role, I think. I also was thinking about it, like, I sort of hate to be Captain Buzzkill in New Orleans, but I look at this and I'll just make 2 points, and I'll start. Neither of them are going to be positive. Neither of them are going to make anybody happy. But building a bit off what Janie was saying, and I'm going to set aside for a minute the political and societal lack of wisdom of the cuts to food stamps and food assistance to pay for additional farm payments. And I'm going to just focus in on 2 things that sort of are driving me a bit batty and keeping me up at night, like when I'm not sitting at O'Hare waiting for take off. The first one is I don't know if we could screw up farm policy anymore. We sure have tried, and I'm worried we're going to keep trying. And if you need just a nice fundamental example, the idea that we need bridge payments to go from one set of payments to the next set of payments is beyond my comprehension. It is absurd, and it sets up a whole lot of problems, and it's going to create, I'm afraid, sort of cash-infused set to the next problem. And my second point is right off what Janie says. I am absolutely petrified about the cliff that sits in front of row crop right now. I've wasted an enormous amount of limited brain power trying to sort out history and understand history and political development, how this thing gets A to point B in the process. I look at this thinking, my word, we're looking at it. I don't know if it's the, I don't know what it like. We don't repeat history like that clearly typically recycle. So go back and look at different things. Wars in the Middle East, oil embargoes, grain embargoes, trade conflicts, on and on and on. And then payments, sort of the only way to respond to or address that. And I just am very concerned that we're staring at that cliff. We're not doing anything about it, or we're making it worse. And then, some smart-ass historian 50 years from now is going to write about it. And you're going to look at it and say, what were they thinking? What were they doing at that moment? It was pretty obvious where we're headed. And so I'm watching closely, what do we plant this spring? How many acres of corn in particular? How many acres of soybeans for the market where we've estimated the Chinese market for exports, and we've built Brazil now into not just a competitor, but the winner in this game. So I think if we're ever going to rethink it, it's now, and we better get to it quickly. Congress isn't trying. This reconciliation bill last year set, I think, at least 5 really bad changes to agricultural policy, crop insurance, and subsidy system. I think whatever they just did in the House Ag Committee is more of a campaign CYA than it is an actual policy. And so I welcome this conversation, but we're in a bad spot. And I hate to be the one to make those points and sound like that. I have vague recollections of the 80s. So anyway, let me stop with that. And, I think, again, we've got a problem with policy. We've got this cliff, which takes us back to policy because we're not there. And I'm happy to, if we want to get into the alphabet soup of programs that we have, if you want some things to start with, at the very least right now, Congress could do something with the Conservation Reserve Program to maybe take some of the pressure off planting. They haven't. And that to me is like one of those just, we're kicking dead canaries over as we walk around here. That should be an easy first step. We haven't done it. So anyway, let me stop with my scene and hand it over to the expert here and see. Joe's got the answer right here.
Well, normally the economy is the person in the room, but I'm not near as sad as they are. I don't think the world. Okay, not good. Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. As someone who has spent their entire career building these programs like they suck, it's a little hard to tell here. No, my job is to work for behind the scenes of Congress and USDA. And on the way up here, we did a study yesterday for them on fertilizer stuff. It's important to everybody in this room. So there's so many things, there's so many problems, and that is exactly why nothing ever happens. Because we've got politicians who are constantly running for re-election, and they do not think long term. And we have input people who like to take everything that you can make and more if they can get it. And we have markets that I will never in my life ever call China a dependable market for our products. I've seen it happen. They come in when it's good for them and they leave when it's good for them. They're not somebody you would want to be in business with, anybody in this room. And so we're kind of in a tough spot. And so as someone who argued on behalf of getting the bridge payment, Jonathan, I'm not going to sit here and apologize for that. Why? Because I spend all my time helping them design programs. They come up with ideas. We come up with ideas. I am the old guy now in Washington, pretty much. And so they'd say, well, what about this? And I said, well, we tried that before. It didn't work. Well, what about this? So, well, we tried that, and it kind of worked for a little while. It fell apart. Why? Because politics, this and that, whatever. We just have a situation where, honestly, we have a lot of things that the number one thing he touched on. We have had the 80s, and I went to college in the 80s, 1983, by the way, and I was told, don't plan on coming back to the farm. It will not be here when you get graduated, and it was not. It was a very, very difficult time in this country. Everything is lining up, except it's worse now because we have Brazil, who, think about this for 1 second, no one can see crop agriculture livestock prices we have right now. And yet they're expanding every year. Something is going on there. I know they're lower cost than us because of the multiple crops here. I get all that. But who's financing all that? We all know who's financing. I'm not going to say it out loud. I don't want Jerry to write it. So, sorry, Jerry. He's a buddy. But the reality is we've got all these issues, and the Brazil situation changes the calculus for me relative to the 80s. Because, yeah, interest rates, blah, blah, blah. A lot of things are similar to the 80s. But the biggest difference is back then we didn't have someone who was willing to do it for prices. We're not. Yep. And so let's get on to what I think is a positive. What I think is a positive is okay, so I got to say one more thing to kind of defend myself on this, and then I'm going to tell you things you don't want. I spend every day trying to figure out ways to keep people farming that want to farm. And that includes the government forking over some money every once in a while when I think things are justified, whether you like it or anyone else in this room doesn't. I don't care. I'm doing what I think is the short-term solution for a bigger problem. Because the alternative is to have a whole bunch of people go out of business. That is the economics. That's how economics works. You want higher prices? This side of the room stop being in agriculture. It won't make a blip in this country, but you'll be out of agriculture, and these people might make a little bit higher prices. That's how economics works. Well, so that this payment stuff, this bridge payment, they did do a lot of stuff in the reconciliation bill, and I think the reconciliation bill is going to do anytime. Take one step back. I hope you never get another freaking government payment in your life. You know what that means? That means the prices are high. But if they aren't high, I want the government to step in, just like they step in to save everybody else with every other reason. Because agriculture is no worse than any other sector of this world. In fact, it actually should have a higher place than a lot of places, a lot of sectors. And so that's why I said we're friends, but the reality is, I'm going to hit him with that, okay? So, but the reality is that you can have different thoughts. But if you understand what my thinking is, you will at least understand what I'm about to tell you. And what I'm about to tell you is I think there's going to be a lot of payments go out, not because of anything other than prices are going to stink for last year's crop. For this fall, you're going to get the biggest payments you've ever gotten in your lives if you're involved in row crop agriculture. Because prices are that bad. And they increase the safety net program. Is that good? No, it's not good at all. But it might allow you to do it again next year if you'll get the bank rolled out, allow that to happen. But the fact of the matter is it leaves us where we're kind of stuck. And so what is the solution here? You got policymakers saying short term every time they're trying to get to the one piece of legislation to the next. The very question I get asked more than any other is, where's the money going to come from? By farmers. You think the defense people give a crap where the money comes from? Do you think anyone else cares where the money comes from? It can come. I have worked in this industry for 40+ years, and the money can come if they need it that big a deal. Budget constraints are not that big a deal whenever it's important. Case in fact, we've had over $100 billion of ad hoc assistance. That means the programs are broken. It does. But where would we be without it? So let me turn to a little bit of positive things. I think that the industry and the Midwest is leading this, rightfully should. the trying to figure out internal domestic uses for our products is so much better than hoping China decides to come back into our market. And that is something that we can spend. We have money in this country. We should spend it as if we're trying to build our way out of the war. Let's build our way out of low prices and commodities by doing that. And that's something that I've been talking to folks in Washington about, that you got to think bigger than this. We need domestic uses of our commodities, whether it's any kind of fuels, I do not care. Whether it's in boats, whether it's in planes, it does not matter. It just needs we need another demand. We also want the price whenever we have nothing. The livestock side doesn't like it so much. The livestock side's having a pretty good time right now. I'm one of them. Remember, Jamie, we talked about that. So we need more uses of our products. Some people in this room are going to hate me for this, but we need the payment limits to be relaxed, because these payments that are going to come in October are going to make up for some really, really bad prices unless you get limited out. And so that is not the thinking that a lot of people in this room normally think, but I'm telling you, it is going to have a problem, because Midwest, I did a little math, and if you're 4,000 acres is not that big of a farm anymore. For some people, it's huge. I get it. But if you're a 4,000 acre farm where he's at, you're limiting it out. It's just you and mama, or you and daddy. You're going to live it out. You're going to leave money on the table. What does that mean? That means the prices stunk, but you didn't get all you had the risk. You took the risk for it. So it's a different world. I'm going to quit there because I know he's about to explode. But the reality is that agriculture is in a tough time. And the fact that people are willing, I'll end with this. I've testified in front of Congress a lot of times, and some of you probably think I should never ask him again. But one of the last times I did, one of the members that didn't know anything about agriculture asked me, am I worried about the Walmartization of agriculture? Which means getting so big and big, you know. And I said, not even a little bit, because Walmart wants to make a consistent, decent return on their money. Farmers are willing to take the good with the bad because they love the life, they love what they do, and they love the interaction with people like-minded folks. Walmart doesn't care about that; they care about money. Or you can name any other big company, but you get my point. In agriculture, we take not very good returns with the hope of better, and that's what I'll give you. Is I hope it gets better for you. Thank you. You don't have to talk.
I want to jump in here before you start. I know it seems like we're all diametrically opposed with each other. I think we're all actually saying similar things, Joe. I mean, we keep doing this stuff, and he keeps working on it. He keeps working on it. I keep working on it. We've all had a hand in either running the numbers or drafting the laws or implementing, right? And we're all kind of saying the same thing, which is, yeah, we're going to keep riding this horse. However, the horse has issues, and we've got to figure this out, y'all. And that, I think, put words in your mouth, either one of you. But that's what I took away from what you all were saying is that we got a whole lot of band-aids. We have a safety net that we've dealt with for years, but it's got holes in it. We need to know. We need to figure out how to fix them and how to actually do it in a way that is economically safe. Because for a lot of years, we haven't focused on the economic piece. We just assumed there was going to be another program, right? Maybe there will be forever and ever and ever. But at the end of the day, I just think we need to zoom out back here and think about things at a bigger level and not trying to damage.
Need markets, and
yes,
a lot of people would look overseas.
Yep.
And I'm telling you now that I would look internally.
Yep. No, I totally agree with you on that.
So, you, the audience, if you have questions, I think now is probably the time. There it is. Perfect. I'm going to keep. So, I have a question about something, Dr. Outlaw, that you touched on just briefly. So, in decades past, there have been farm policies that have focused on supply management. There hasn't been much appetite for that in recent years. Do you feel, and Jonathan, you can answer this question too, do you feel like there's more of an appetite now than there has been in recent years?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I had notes and get to it and against Cheney's stuff, but I did an analysis for this group on MSET, and it worked. People voluntarily setting aside some of the land to go to conservation uses in exchange for a little bit higher protection than what they do farm actually will work. And if anybody's read the report, there's one caveat in there that says you kind of got to protect against imports or it falls apart. Well, with Brazil where we're at right now, that makes it a lot tougher. Now, if you tell me who's going to be the president and how they act, then I can tell you a lot more. But it is an alternative. And I'll tell you, we did that study and there wasn't a single word other than y'all and us looking at it that I heard in Washington, D.C. Since that time, I haven't told anybody about anything. I just had to listen to people. And the words supply control, supply management have started coming up and up and up because that's one way to if you can't get the demand to increase, you need to have some sort of reduction in supply increase, and everybody wants higher prices. So there are plans out there. The plan that by this group actually has a lot of merit to it, but there have to have safeguards to it. Otherwise, it's fall apart like a lot of things we've had in this country in the past.
So historically, supply management carries a lot of baggage, and I think that's part of the political problem. So I agree there's a lot of merit in MSET. I mean, I tend to think of it in two sort of buckets, right? Conservation. I mean, we invest so little in conservation in our policy. It's stunning. Maybe $5 to $6 billion spread across hundreds of practices, 6 different programs in all 50 states compared to what we put $50 billion in ad hoc in the last couple of years. So it's an insanely small amount. So I think of not supply management, but land management. I think attaching our policies better to acres and helping farmers manage those acres, whether some acres go into conservation. And the second bucket is a little bit to Joe's point, although the RFS make me, and speaking of apostasy from the state of Illinois, maybe I won't make it back to O'Hare. The RFS makes me really nervous because we're making payments on base acres. Many of you know what base acres are. Yeah, right? Plant the crop, you get. And this is an example where if we do one thing but not sort of think about this comprehensively, you end up with high payments on base acres. Sorry, I know this is where
No.
This is where you may reach across.
Actually,
high payments on base acres to plant something like corn. And if I'm thinking about this from my individual farm level, I'm thinking I should plant corn because this is the only game in the domestic market right now. And you're absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more on China. Farmers are a geopolitical pawn for China. Like they're just playing games with this market. So we can't rely on it. So bucket one is conservation. Bucket two, build off of what Joe said, it is market use. It's also market diversity. And again, I know I'm going to get in trouble when I go back to Illinois, but 2 crops is a lot of eggs in two baskets. And so it is a combination of things. And so this is where I think innovative and creative to the new questions. Like we've got tools, we've got a bunch of stuff sitting there. Think of creative you could do with these programs. What could I use working with CRP that help bridge transition from 2 crop rotations to 5 crop rotations, 4 crop rotations? What would we set up so that an RFS or domestic market demand driver doesn't drive us deeper into planting and overplanting one crop? And that's where I see some of these challenges. We can't just set one thing So I do think the supply management, if we think in terms of something other than historical supply management, look at it as conservation, and look at a policy that gives farmers the ability to adapt, to adjust, innovate in their fields, rather than just this one sort of fixed system. With I've been beating my head against the wall over base acres now for a while, because it's a great example of this policy that was fixed in 1996, 95, 96. It's a mess. It's going to feed the problems as we go to the cliff. So that's what I wanted to kind of put those pieces. But I do think those two buckets have real potential if we can get innovative in how we design the policy to open that sort of opportunity to farmers.
I can't believe we actually agree on
something. Will the ceiling cave in?
Yeah, the world's no wonder I lost last night. Anyway, but the base acre deal, most of y'all know former Chairman Peterson, and he and he got me in so much trouble with Chairman Conaway in the last farm bill. Conaway's from Texas. I'm from Texas. I'm friends with Peterson. Peterson said, "What would you do with the farm bill if you were in my spot?" And I said, "I'd throw base acres away and just help people that are planting and have money at risk. Stop the base acre deal." Well, why do we do it? Well, we do it because we get sued in the WTO, and if you care about such things, there was a time we really cared about that. This environment, environment right now, I don't know that we care too much about that. And this would be a good time to scrap that. But we do agree on that issue. It's a terrible thing when you have people that have a lot more base acres that they control. They get payments for stuff they don't even do. They don't have money at risk in those acres. They have cows on them. That's stupid. And so we have a lot of problems in this country. And I'll revert back to the last thing what I started with was it is very difficult, even though some of them are some of the best people in this world, very difficult to get politicians that live on a 2-year election cycle in the House and the old, whatever it is, 6-year in the Senate. It's hard to get them to think longer than that.
So we're going to take a question from the audience now here.
Do the hard ones.
Do the hardest one, what you said. So we talked a little bit about IMSET and the international markets. So I'm going to take this question. Do tariffs on imports fix that one issue that you worry about for IMSET?
They would have to be significant tariffs, and that's one of the things I'm working on now to see exactly how big they'd have to be to overcome. You've got shipping costs and all those things. But yeah, the answer is that you could absolutely offset it, and that's what I wrote in the report. Given the current political environment, it might not be a problem.
Okay, I'm going to take another one here. It's open-ended. What policies do you feel like would encourage an increase in domestic markets? It's something that we've all kind of hit on. What specific policies do you feel would be beneficial?
Go ahead.
Well, I said one thing where we could get creative with some of the things we have now, like a CRP that was transition working land. We've seen the grassland part of that grow a lot, which helps the cattle herd rebuilding. So that's one area. Honestly, and this goes, it's kind of what I was hoping you could jump in on. The most important thing we need for domestic markets is going to be investment. Yeah. You're not going to get a farmer to grow a crop. There's no elevator to take it. There's no processing system to do anything with it. It's saying to me, some people push diversity, go do something, tell farmers, go grow something different. And well, where am I going to get it? Who am I going to sell it to? And so you don't have those. The most important policy thing I can think of right now is get into rural communities and start building infrastructure that can do these things. And oh, by the way, if I can just rant for a second, because I got no last thing. Can we please stop data center building on farms? Yeah. I cannot imagine a society doing something more stupid. And I gave this to another group, and Rob will give it. I have a great marketing campaign. you can't eat computer chips. So let's invest in rural communities so they're not just sitting ducks for some tech bro from the coast who wants to buy up land, stick a data center on. Let's invest in elevators and processing, and let's find some of that opportunity rather than where we seem to be going, which is watching this unfold around us. Sorry, I will stop there.
Go ahead. During our favorite last crisis with COVID, remember? I started getting phone calls from tribal headquarters, and tribal leaders were saying, "Oh, now we get it. Now we get food isn't moving." Oh, got it. Everybody just assumed that it was going to continue to go there. And so, I mean, I come from Oklahoma. It's hard not to take a stick in Oklahoma and not hit at least 10 casinos on the forehead. I don't care whether you like it or not, quite frankly. But I look at them from an agricultural standpoint. I look at them as at least 8 to 10 food retail establishments under one roof. That's how I view the world. And there are so many tribal leaders and tribal citizens that are farmers and ranchers. And I was getting phone calls in the middle of the night from tribal leaders saying, we need to build a processing plant like tomorrow because we can't get slot time for any of our producers for another 2.5 years. What are we doing here? And I was sitting there going, got it. The Osage Nation in Oklahoma built a processing plant, not a humongous one, but you don't need a humongous one, okay, to make a difference in rural communities. They built that thing in 9 months' time in the middle of COVID. So don't tell me it can't be done. And the thing is still open, it's still running, and they're still moving through there. Other tribes have followed suit. At one point, we knew of at least 1,200 different groups of people out there on the landscape who were money on the barrelhead, Scott, Zach, am I right? And start up small processing plants. Okay, they don't have to be huge. Why do we want them to be huge? You can look across the state of Arkansas, and 70% of all of the processing plant owners are 90. Hello, and that was 10 years ago. So unless you are going to go buy that from them and upgrade it and enhance the equipment and make sure it's not bleeding salmonella out the back door, right? Unless you're going to do that, then we're losing all that. And why are we not transitioning those, upgrading them, enhancing them, turning them over to the next generation of producers and processors and getting on down the road? Why are I actually think we're all making this harder than it has to be. And I just get to do a lot of my work, not all of it, but with tribal leaders who go, okay, we're doing this. And they just go. And they don't do it without running the numbers and really thinking about who's going to run the place. But each one of those processing plants sets in motion a set of decisions and risk analysis and all sorts of running the numbers and getting your workforce together and all that stuff that we know how to do. This is not alien to us. We know this. We just don't do it. And then we complain about the big thing taking over everything. As my grandfather would say, put your boots on, let's go. We've got work to do here. I think we have the solutions on the domestic market development. I think it would, rapidly assist rural communities, but we're going to have to get practical, precise, and we're going to have to put our boots and go, period.
And I would just add, I was just going to add on that and inject competition in a market where competition is right up. And so I think that's
And I have to say this too, and I know this is not germane to anything other than my random thought that's happening right now. Uh, we have to decide that we continue to believe that we need to feed people. How many of you have food stamps? I have. How many of you have been a single mom with 2 jobs? I mean, the reality is, since when do farmers and ranchers get up in the morning and decide that they're not interested in feeding people? I thought that's what we were doing. I don't understand. For the life of me, I do not understand how we are thinking when we're deciding that we don't care if children have food or elders. I'm an elder. It matters to me that somebody thinks I should have food. Right? It's just I don't get it, and the morality of that is deeply disturbing to me. And I personally do not see that the feeding people and the food production coalition is frayed and it's never coming together. I don't think it's apart. I just think we're all being pitted against each other over the lack of vision and the every 2 months somebody's going up for reelection and all we're just fighting with each other, right? I just feel like we've got to come back to the reality that we as farmers and ranchers are put on this earth to feed people, period.
Jonathan, do you want to speak to that Farm Bill Coalition just a little bit?
well, this is where I may risk disagreeing with Janie to some degree. I agree in the sense that there's no reason for this. I also agree that this has been not accidental effort to pit interests against each other. But I find it hard to imagine in any political sort of conventional thinking that you can do what Congress did in the reconciliation bill is doing now, if they do anything beyond reporting it out of one committee, and expect that this sort of is fine. I understand the point, and I do think what I would take away from Janie's point is extraordinarily important is that we in agriculture have a whole lot of work to rebuild bridges and coalitions. We want those things to exist. I tend to take, my grandpa was always like, expect the worst and be real happy when it doesn't happen and try to work to prevent it, right? I think there's value in the ag community, the farm community, looking at what happened in reconciliation, what happened in the previous farm bill before that. Remember, we had 2 straight bills on the House floor, 13 and 18. We have done enormous damage to that coalition and frankly to our reputation in agriculture because of it. I don't think it just naturally comes back together. I think if we want that coalition to exist, there's a lot of work to repair that. And so I don't want to leave it in this sort of like, oh crap, well, we blew that up. No. But I think there's a lot of value in trying to figure out what it looks like without that coalition, what it takes if we rebuild a coalition, or what a new or revised coalition begins to look like. But I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I do think to the extent there is the sort of, oh, it'll be all right. I don't think so. I don't think it's going to be all right on its own. And I think it's on those of us in agriculture to try to rebuild whatever bridges we've burned in this process or these multiple processes. And if we don't, then it's going to get real hard to come into the political arena and say, we need more. We need more. I get that there are challenges and all of that. But again, we've allowed this to get to a point where we've pitted the most fundamental political bonds in this situation, as between those who produce food and as between those who need food to, or need help to put food on their table. And having done that, I think cardinal political rule for a long time for real reason. You just don't get that back. And so my advice is to work from the we broke it, how do we fix it mentality versus, yeah, it should come back together. That's where
Right. I have two more questions. It's almost time for lunch. So I promised Dr. Outlaw I would ask a question.
Okay.
So we have LRP, we also have the community program. Can you touch on that and maybe say how you think that fits into the broader portfolio of farm programs and what you see as the future for the future of those kinds of things?
Well, I think that LRP is livestock risk protection is something that has grown in use across the livestock area tremendously once they took the caps off. Initially, it was a certain amount of money for dairy and livestock. And once they removed that allowed companies to come in and develop products that would be more in line with actual what needs. I think they're here to stay. I've got graduate students working on trying to help fine tune them to make them better producers. The fact that you can go and buy a government subsidized product to help you with your risk management on a livestock operation, whether it's a feed yard or cow calf or something, is tremendous. And so those types of opportunities in my mind are going to be nothing but more. The main thing is that you've got to work the next. But I just think that there's insurance is one of those cases where even the least favorable agriculture member of Congress has to go. They have to get in the game. They have they're not getting something for nothing, and so this it's here to stay. I'll just set that.
Good, great. Last question. We have, as we've talked about this morning quite a bit, we have a good amount of young people in the audience. Most of them are producing. In about 2 or 3 sentences, I want each one of you to say what you think might be encouraging to them. This has been we're in a situation where, there's lots of negative news coming at people. Some people in the audience have worked through that. They know what it feels like to live through it. Our young people don't yet. So just to close out, I want to see if each of you have something that you might say to encourage or guide them as we close out the
Every downturn is obviously bad for people, but it's also an opportunity to get your foothold a little bit bigger. If you've been minding your P's and Q's with money, you're not been taking on bad investments or whatever, get a little bit too risky. But I just think that this is going to be a downturn where in the past, every small farmer in here would say, large farmers gobble up all the ground available, they gobble it up before. I think that people have their hands full paying for what they have right now. And I know a lot of large farms that are letting land go right now because of the very reason. Just because you make a lot of something at a loss, good.
I like that. That sounds like I can learn. Yeah, I mean, I'll just say quickly, do it. I mean, thank you to farmers thinking about this next gen stuff. I guess my point would be, at least my experience with farmers is there's a small amount of contrarianism in the farm community. Embrace that. Like, you don't have to do what we've always, like this, like that's great, right? Be contrarian, like arguing with your dad or whoever, like find something new, find new ways through it, and don't be quiet about it. Because Joe's right, 2-year election cycles, whatever, but that means they also have to listen because they're running in 2 years again. So don't be quiet, don't sit back and demand that this stuff changes so that you can survive and build the next generation of food production. So go for it. Don't hold back.
So back in the day, You know, you old people my age know what I'm going to say. You know, back in the day in the 80s, we didn't have ag affiliation programs. We didn't have an Ag Credit Act of 1987. We didn't have an Ag Bankruptcy Act. We didn't have, and everything was falling apart. No, this is your moment. I want to see something coming out of surrounded by people who were wringing their hands, and it was hard. But I also have all of these amazing people that I'm still in touch with that we all just said, we're bigger than this. We got this. And so to the point that both of them have already made, it's going to be interesting, shall we say. It's going to be hard. But you are made for this moment. Your skill set is so unique. We didn't even have cell phones. We had to market our stuff in the car. You have so many more tools that we did not have. And when it got rough, we got creative. And we came up with some policy stuff and some other ways of thinking. And us three have, spent our careers working in spaces that were totally alien to our grandparents. I mean, they were like, what? But this is your moment. Our job, older folks in this space, to lift and soar and do whatever we can to sit up underneath you. And hats off to National Farmers Union and the work y'all are doing. We all need to do more of it, but do not be afraid. And you just do everything you can to hold on to your land. That is so important. But you got this. We got your back. Go for it.
You heard it here. This is your moment. I want to extend another thank you to the panelists. You guys did great. I think everybody enjoyed it, and I think that might be time for lunch. Is that right, Rob? Okay, great. All right, one more hand for him, guys.
Alrighty. Folks probably know I'm a professed farm policy nerd, and I don't know, I had a feeling if you bring the right ingredients together for a conversation about thinking beyond and thinking a little bit differently about the challenges, we might have a pretty good panel, and hopefully you guys enjoyed that. We have just a few announcements before we break for lunch here. I'll get talked to by staff if I don't make the announcements here. So most important here at this moment is to also take a moment to thank all of our convention sponsors who helped make this event possible. A special thank you to our top sponsors, Farmers Union Enterprises, Farmers Union Industries, and Farm Credit. In addition to our keynote speakers, our convention breakout sessions provide deeper dives into key issues family farmers and ranchers face. We have an engaging and informative slate to share with you this year. Starting at 1:30, we will have a few different breakout sessions for you to attend. Starting off, once again, as a reminder, we are excited to have an agri-medic training session from 1:30 to 3:45. This takes the entire time of the breakout session, but it's will provide emergency response training geared towards on-farm accidents. That will take place in the Jackson Room. In the camp room, starting at 1:30, you can attend Weathering the Future, How Federal Science Supports Family Farmers. And then at 2:45, More Untold Stories, Cooperation, Community, and Farmers Union in the South. If you're participating in the speech contest, you should have received your presentation time. That will be taking place in the Commerce Room. For additional information on the breakout sessions, check out the convention app. We will see you back here at 4 p.m. for the welcome reception, which will then lead into the convention opening banquet at 5 p.m. See you later.